Welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host, Scotty McCoy, and boy, do I have a surprise for all of you. I have on Zoom with me right now, Kathy Sanders, and she played Robin Taylor in Smack, which is the upcoming indie film. I know it's produced and starring Cody Faulk as well as yourself. Hey, Kathy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm actually not one of the stars. That is Emily Claassen.
And
yep. Cody.
Yeah. Yep. I had her on my show. She was the first, outside of Cody, she was the first one I had on my show. And then I was talking to Cody. I'm like, is it okay if I have on Kathy and Jeff and Sterling and Brian and everybody? And he's like, absolutely. I'm like, that'll be great.
I love it.
Absolutely. So how did you get your start into acting?
Well, Scotty, a long time ago, many moons ago, actually, as a young child, I loved great stories. And I would create plays for my friends in my neighborhood, and I'd make them perform, and we'd do it for the parents. And then as I moved through school, I participated in theater. And when I went to college, I became a theater minor. I almost went to New York after college, but got a job and ended up staying in DC. But then when my son went to college, I had that yearning again to have that creative drive, that creative desire to be a part of that community. And so I started doing some research and found that DC was not only rich in theater, but also in on-camera opportunities. I was amazed. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So how did you happen to get your part in Smack?
So that's the great Smack mystery. We can't quite remember how I was brought on board. I think I probably saw a breakdown somewhere and auditioned. I was blown away by the script. I had the opportunity to talk to Cody a couple times before auditioning. And I just kept thinking, there is really something special about this project and about Cody. His passion was palpable. I am very drawn to projects where there is a purpose in the project. And all of that was there with Cody. So I auditioned. I loved the sides he sent me. And then he gave me a little more insight into the film. And I was just really honored to be a part of it.
Absolutely. That's great. So everybody I had on so far about Smack, I asked them this question because, you know, you hit different demographics with different actors you have on the show. And I want to reach out to a vast amount of the audience to get this movie out there. And so for those that are unaware, that are watching this interview, can you let them know what Smack is all about?
So without disclosing too much, Smack really is a love story. You know, when people fall in love in their relationships, you're going to bring into that relationship all your baggage. And this unpacks a little bit of that baggage. And you also are going to draw people in to your world. Both parties are going to draw people into their world. Now, that world that you've created for yourself may have some things involved that are not healthful. And this relationship shows the very raw nature of how relationships, something very beautiful and good, can take a detour. And we've all known somebody, family members, friends who have been involved in drugs, drug addiction, any kind of addiction. And this story has those elements. So it's raw. It's raw and it tells the truth. And that's what really drew me to it. I've done several films about addiction. None of them have been watered down, but this one really goes there. And I appreciate that. I appreciate showing the ugly side of addiction.
Right. With the epidemic of the opioid crisis, how many people are affected by drugs and alcohol and different types of addiction, especially those people, not just people that are doing it themselves, but their family and their friends, like you mentioned. Like this story, really telling the truth about it, can show people, well, if you have an addiction and you're watching this, you really should at least deeply consider getting the help you need.
Absolutely. And seeing, it doesn't glamorize it.
Right.
Oftentimes we'll see films glamorize it. I don't think they mean to, but there is, all of us a little bit are drawn to danger.
Yeah.
But that danger, we have to stop and think how that's going to affect the lives of everyone around us. And so this story really goes there. And the character development, I'm telling you, Cody is a beautiful writer. I love a great story, but more importantly, I love it well written.
Right.
And the characters need to be developed. I need to understand why a scene is happening. And that's all there. And plus the cast is extraordinary. And we have an amazing director in LSB and a cinematographer in Jordan Miller. And the cast it's my Smack family. So I just feel very blessed to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And I loved your answer to that question about explaining what it's about, because everybody else just went right into the drug addiction part, where you mentioned about the love story, which is what other people have mentioned, but you also brought in that when you are in that relationship, you bring your baggage. And that is a very beautiful answer, because it shows that every relationship does bring their anger. So let me put this on do not disturb. My food or my HelloFresh arrived. There we go. So
your what arrived? Your
my HelloFresh.
Woo!
You get it too?
I love it.
I love it too. I love it too. So your character's name, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, is Robin Taylor. So can you tell us a little bit about Robin? Who is she? What can we expect from her?
Robin is a nurturing mother.
Mm-hmm.
She's a loving wife, a nurturing mother. She wants to create a beautiful, warm environment. She wants the best for her daughter. Yeah. She's the woman who is there for her friends. She's the listening friend, sister, mother, and she is completely unaware of what's going on with her daughter. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see my character have some real changes in her perception and her attitude. And it's interesting. It seems like every time I do a movie, my life sort of follows the same theme of that movie in a small way. And there have been some times where either myself or friends have had to say, you need to look for these flags. There's some flags here. There's some signs that either you see and you're ignoring, or you're completely oblivious to it.
Yeah, or in denial.
Yeah. And by the way, part of that denial is wishing the best and hoping the best for our loved ones and friends and seeing the best in them. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But being naive to the truth can be very dangerous and also damaging. So
yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, parents don't know that their children need help. And when they do find out, your reaction can be what makes or breaks the situation, what can help it or hurt it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a phrase called look beneath the words. Mm-hmm. Listen beneath the words. When friends, family, children especially, teenagers especially are talking, look beneath the words and do a little research. There's nothing wrong with sort of poking around and seeing what's going on in your kid's life.
Right.
Too many times it's a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise.
Right.
So we're going to see Robin go through an evolution, and that's what I absolutely love about my character.
Nice.
She really goes through this emotional evolution, and by the last scene,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely, it's gonna be good. I talked to Cody about this movie, and I can't wait to see this movie. Like he told me a lot of details about it, and I'm really excited for him, for the cast, the crew, and just I can't wait to see this movie. It's gonna really be an eye opener for a lot of people, and it's gonna really hit close to home for a lot of people as well.
I hope so. I
Yeah,
hope it's hard to watch in some ways, but I
yeah,
hope it's cathartic also.
mhm,
But a lot of all the elements of a film, as you know,
mhm,
it's not just the writing and the screenplay and the cinematography and the directing and the talent, the way, they can perform their characters.
mhm,
It's also that interaction with the actors themselves on set. And this film is so full of what I call generous
mhm.
actors, just extraordinary.
Yeah,
Emily and Cody and Jeff Moore and Brian Lyons-Berg and Sterling Morse and Eliza Kelly and Harvey Roberts and Dennis Marburger. I mean, just the list goes on of
yeah,
extraordinary actors who are passionate and also really amazing human beings. And
yeah.
that comes through in the story.
That's
The
awesome.
characters have layers. So
Yeah,
I'm so excited for you all to see this, and I'm just so
yeah.
proud to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And speaking of Cody, Jeff, and Emily, we know Jeff plays your on-screen husband, and Cody is the boyfriend to your daughter, Emily,
Yes.
Emily's character. So what was it like working with Jeff, Emily, and Cody?
Like I said, generous actors.
Yeah.
All of them said at some point in time, and I love this phrase, when you're in a scene, and these are intense scenes.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'm having issues with my hair keeps falling in my face. To be a woman. The heroes. That we would ask each other, am I giving you what you need? Am I giving you what you need in this scene to do what you need to do? So many times when I was in a scene with Jeff, Emily, and Cody, which I have most of my scenes with them, it was, I call it blackout acting, where you forget you're acting, you forget you're in a scene, you forget there are cameras, you forget all of it. You're in that scene. Like Cody is this lovely soul. And then when we're in a scene together, he's this guy as his character that I, as a mother, am really having an issue with. And so we have these blackout scenes where, you are you giving each other what you need? Oh, absolutely. It's the magic. It's the magic. And you just want to do it all day. And every time I have a scene with Emily, she makes me cry. Like she just draws you in. You look in her eyes every single time. I'm like, you're making me cry again. And I've worked on a lot of projects with Jeff. So Jeff and I just are very seamless in our ability to work together. So
Nice.
I'm not just saying all this. This really is the truth. And this is why I call it the Smack family. It's
Right.
really been amazing.
Right. And I've gotten to really know Cody as a person, not really as an actor, but as a person. And he really is a great human being.
Yes.
And he told me about how he's a method actor. And I can only imagine how he's being a method actor, how this is really changing him when he's in front of that camera. So like, yeah. Do you do any type of method acting, any character acting, or do you just go in and play it by ear?
A little bit of all of it, but also I've lived a long time. So I have a lot of experience in life, and I really like to, I know I watched Brian's interview. I think we have a similar way of approaching a scene. I don't get stuck in my preparation in a way of doing it, because I want to see what the other actor is bringing, because that's where the life is. What is the other acting or other actor wanting in this scene? You can, just like in real life, you can make all kinds of assumptions, but when you're in the moment, it can be very different. So yes, you memorize your lines, and you know you're blocking, and you know the general goal of the theme, but I want to see where the other act, I want to listen to them. I want to look in their eyes and see where they want to take it. And that's where the magic happens again.
Yeah.
Just that, you know, when you're working with pros, this is what you get. And I'm sure there's all those elements in there, but that's the way I approach it. I like to really create a scene partner interaction. So
absolutely. So what do you believe was the hardest part about filming this type of movie, and what would you think would be the easiest?
So the areas that are hard in the way that I assumed, that the story is difficult. It's raw and it's painful, and I've been through these situations already in real life. So it's revisiting situations I've already been through, and the intensity, and you want to give it everything you have. So the only thing is that you are giving your soul to a scene, and you're exhausted, and you should be. But that's another thing that we established before even filming, is we all talked about it. Hey, this is some intense stuff. Let's keep things light on the outside and support each other in this intensity, because this is some hard, heavy stuff. So you have to, as human beings, care for each other. One time my dog walked into a scene.
I heard about that.
Amber, I forgot that Amber, when she hears me being intense, or she can even sense that I'm in a sad state. Cody and I were having a really intense scene in our living room. I mean, we were in the blackout moment, and I'm looking at Cody, and we're deep in each other's eyes, and I hear these little pooty paws coming up, and I'm looking at Cody, and I'm thinking to myself, I think Amber's coming up. Sure enough, I hear her little tail is flapping on my leg. And so I said, I'm so sorry. I forgot to tell somebody to hold Amber, because she's an empath dog, and she could sense the intensity in the scene. So anyway, that was fun.
And that's the difference between like animals and humans. Like if it's an empathical human, like they would probably feel the emotion, but they would know not to, that everything's going to be okay. Whereas the animal, they think it's really happening.
Right. They're like, she's like, she needs me. She needs me now. Everybody out of the way.
Yeah. So I know that you said you watched Brian's interview, and I know Jeff mentioned it as well. You are the unofficial casting director of this movie. Oh. So what does that feel like?
Oh, gee, no pressure there. No, Cody and the production team always have the last say, first of all. So during COVID, Cody and I would talk for hours, and I do mean hours. I'd be walking my dog about this script. He's so much fun to talk to, as you know, and so passionate. And he would tell me about the other characters. And I said, well, hey, I have a beautiful network of very talented friends. Let me know if you want some help. And so he would call me every now and then and say, I'm looking for this and this character. And I generally only refer people I've worked with, because I know how they are on set. Yeah. They show up on time, they take direction, they leave the ego at the door. They're great to work with. Yeah. And they're talented, very talented. And so when he would describe characters to me, I would start thinking of people, and I would just name people for him, and I would send him their pictures. And then he just instinctively would say, okay, I'm going to contact these 4 people, and I'm going to have them audition. So that's sort of the way I just referred. He gave me the breakdown. I referred and gave him, my 4 or 5 best top choices that I felt like he would want to look at. And a lot of that had to do with the essence of the person. And he was very clear about what he wanted in these characters, which was incredibly helpful in trying to come up with somebody.
That's
So
really good. And I mean, picking Jeff as the dad is a perfect choice. I could see you two being like those type of parents that you described, whereas Jeff mentioned the background of, you know, the blue collar dad, and you mentioned you're the nurturing mother. And then of course Brian mentioned he's like the best friend, the father figure. I could see that. So it's like perfect, like the physical aspect is perfect. And now I can't really say about the acting side because I haven't seen that, but I'm sure if you guys, since you guys are still on board, I'm pretty sure it's pretty good. It's really good. So, but
well, I mean, we have great directors. You know, Alice B does such a beautiful job of getting the best out of every actor. And we're so grateful for that. And Cody's generally on set. So he doesn't generally say a lot, but you know, he wants to be sort of just watching and being part of the cast, but he has, you know, he has the final say too. He knows what he sees in his head. So, and then we have Jordan Miller, who's doing the cinematography, and all these people are trying to make sure that you have your best performance. And it's interesting because Brian, I'd only seen him in an audition. We both had an audition for a TV show, and I was just, I mean, it takes me about 3 seconds to see people's talent. So, I mean, this area is so rich with talent and professionalism and passion. So, hey, Hollywood, you don't have to go much further than the DMV. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and when I came to the DMV area, and I seen like just how much indie films, and I joined these like DMV groups, acting groups, and that, and just seeing the nature of all this, and like, you know, how much you know, actual talent is in the area, and how many people are aspiring. Like, it's like you don't need Hollywood anymore. You can really do well with indie film because the talent really is locally.
It's wonderful, and it's a great way to build your resume and sort of get your chops worked on set with some very passionate, talented human beings.
Absolutely.
You know, you don't want to jump right onto the set of Dope Sick and not have ever been in front of the camera and know how to go on your mark and, you know where the camera is. And, you know, you really need to have that background, but we have some very professional work coming out of this area. You're right. Pennsylvania, Richmond. You know, I just finished a film in near Virginia Beach. I mean, I'm just blown away by these scripts. So we're in a great area, Scotty.
We really are.
Great area.
We really, really are. So the last question I have for you, it's all about you. Do you have any future projects in the works that you would like to promote to the listening and the viewing audience?
Well, thank you for asking.
Of course.
So as you know, I finished up Serious Profession, Matt Anderson. So honored to work with him. Got to work with Rick Germain and Bruce Morris, and that was a blast. So that's going to be coming out soon. Just finished up a film called The Box in the Basement by Mike Fox. That's winning a lot of awards, and a wonderful film about bullying. Right now I'm in the midst of filming, it's called We the People by JoJo Maker Productions. I actually play a tough cop in that one. And then I just got called yesterday by a producer I'd worked with previously who offered me a role as a teacher, which I'm very excited about because my dream role is something akin to Sidney Poitier in To Serve with Love. And so I can't even tell you how blessed I feel. I feel so lucky. That's great. Thank you so much for having me on here. It was really nice to meet you.
Of course, and it was nice to meet you as well. Hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to work together too. I would actually really like that. I'm an actor as well, and you know, I own Gravestone Films. You've probably heard of it. Out of Pennsylvania. So I would love to, you know, eventually maybe even work with you one day because you absolutely, I know you are talented. Obviously, with all the people you're surrounded with, your network of, you know, talented actors that you are involved with, you know. So I think that Smack is going to be amazing. I know you're going to do amazing in it, as will Cody, Emily, Jeff, and you know, Brian, Sterling, and the whole cast and crew, obviously. Alice as the director, absolutely phenomenal. I'm so excited to see this, and thank you so much, Kathy, for bringing all of your expertise and all of your knowledge from on set to this interview, because I truly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Scotty.
Not
And
a
I would
problem.
love to work with you also. That would be
Awesome.
wonderful.
Thank you. You have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. You too.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.